Good morning and warmly welcome to today's webinar. It's wonderful to see all of you here and especially exciting to have participants joining us from many various countries I have seen. My name is Melody Jacob and I work as a business unit lead at Howspace, and I'm happy to be your host for this upcoming hour that we have together. And we will explore in this webinar how an organization, Hitachi Energy, has involved its 4,500 employees in the transformation and transition that they are facing, and how they, with Howspace, have been able to create engagement, dialogue, and involvement. And very soon I will invite Sara Funke from Hitachi to join us here in the stream. But before that, I'd like to give you a brief introduction to what is Howspace. And I would like to show you one slide. Yes, thank you. And first of all, you are right now in a Howspace workspace. And running a session like this is just one good example of how you can use Howspace. But Howspace is a platform that supports organizations in their transformation efforts, development work, and learning. And we do that by strengthening the connection between organizational and human levels. And we strongly believe that successful change requires more than just strategies and processes. It's about involving people and relevant stakeholders at the right time to the relevant things through sense-making, social learning, and various forms of engagement. And Howspace enables that by having this shared space for active engagement and meaningful dialogues. And the platform helps organizations address the human side of change management, which is often the most critical factor for a successful transformation. And did you know, by the way, that according to a study from Harvard Business School, only 22% of organizations succeed in their change initiatives? 22%. But those 22% who succeeds know and understood the importance of people and involvement. And today we will discuss this further with Sara, who will share examples of how Hitachi Energy has used dialogue and involvement to build a change-ready organization. And at Howspace, we practice what we preach. So during this webinar, we will also inviting you to participate here and thank you already for the pre-work and engagement on the platform and the questions we sent out earlier this week. We will be having a closer look at that shortly. But now it's time to welcome Sara to the stream. And Sara, who works as a business engagement leader at Hitachi. Welcome, Sara.
Thank you, Melody. Great to be here.
How are you today?
I'm excited to be here. Really looking forward to the conversations and reading through the questions and comments that are coming in.
Yes. And we are so happy to have you. And would you like to start with introducing yourself?
Yeah, for sure. I have a background actually within communications for, I say 20 years almost. First part working within the public political sector, and then the second part, I would say, within the industry, in actually the current company where I'm at right now. And previous to the role that I have now as business engagement leader, I was working as global head of communications for the same business. And as I said today, I'm working with scaling and the rated transformation with focus on business engagement, as we see as that is a critical element for succeeding with the transformation that we are embarking on or actually are in the middle of. And when I say scaling, I'm talking about productivity, really. It's about doing more with less. So how can we be more efficient in our way of operating the business? And I think for those that haven't seen the video, sort of presenting what company it is and what we are doing, I think it's important to give a little bit of context to understand what business we're talking on, because it has its characters, of course.
Yeah.
And HVDC, which is the name of this business that I'm working with, is an abbreviation for high voltage direct current. And maybe we heard about the rock group AC/DC. AC is what you have in your wall, and DC is what we are working with. And when you use the DC technology, it enables you to construct the biggest kind of transmission systems that you can find in the world, basically. And that is a core element now in the green energy transition, as we enable massive integrations of renewable power, from example, offshore winds or hydropower located far from the users. We also enable interconnections between countries and regions. So, for example, we have recently connected UK with Norway. We have connected Norway to Germany, Sweden to Finland, and we have installations on all continents. So we are truly a global business.
Wow.
Shall I take a little bit about me just quickly?
Yes, please do.
I'm myself located in Sweden. I live in a small town called Ludvika in the heart of Sweden, in Dalarna. I have a family, 3 kids here. Really great place to live, and you enjoy outdoor activities, which I do. And I have to share my most recent passion is actually I started to play bandy, which is just amazing.
Wow.
To start with something completely new in my age and start from scratch, and that's really challenging yourself, and that is change, but it's fun change. So it can be really fun if you're on board for it.
And I think also it can be good to have something to rewind for what you're doing at work, because scaling up doing more with less resources is sounds like a quite challenging thing.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, but it's also fun, I think.
Yes, of course.
Challenges are fun. Yeah.
Challenges are fun. And yeah, today's main topic is about creating a change-ready organization. And you are in the middle of this work right now. But what would you say? What means change-ready organization for you and at Hitachi Energy?
Yeah, for us within this business of Hitachi Energy is about 40,000 employees, and as you said, we are about 4,500 within this product group that I'm working with. And even though I think the entire business is a little bit on the same journey, maybe we are in front in some sense. So I mean, I need to put it into the context of the business where we are operating, and we are moving, I think, from a very stable industry context for many years. That has been sort of the business hasn't grown so much or not super fast anyhow. But now, due to the green energy transition, also geopolitical situations in the world, our market is actually booming. It's unprecedented, the growth that we have and that we foresee going forward. And that means that we as an organization, of course, need to grow, but we also need to scale the way we are operating the business. We are moving a little bit from doing one project at a time, and our projects are really huge mega projects. One project at a time, or maybe we have sort of a handful of projects at a time, until having massive amounts of projects ongoing in parallel. And that requires us to work in quite a different way. But we also want, of course, increase the pace in the way we're doing things. And as the market is changing, there are also new requirements and demands from political and regulatory aspects, but of course also technology-wise. We, as everyone, are in the digitalization journey, impacting both the way we operate and our products. So, I mean, for us, and in this context, it's really key to develop a culture and a way of operating the business that enable us to actually move faster than the market, because that's how we can remain as a market leader, and that is how, of course, we can make sure that we can do the critical investment in R&D to remain as a technology leader, to develop what we need to do when it comes to sustainability aspects, and at the end also not be a bottleneck for the green energy transition, because this technology is quite crucial, and there are very few suppliers in the world, and we are the biggest one.
Yeah, and if we take it to the context where you started to use Howspace, or if our collaboration have been ongoing for a little more than 2 years now, and if you go back a couple of years, what were you facing back then, or what made you look for a tool like Howspace in this work?
Yeah, at that time I had been working in this role, I think, for approximately a year, a little bit less, and we had been working very hard on sort of mapping and understanding our culture, where we were at that stage, and in relation to what we saw we need to be. That's really the change readiness. How can we move from the way we're operating into a more agile business? And at the same time, we had this really fast growing organization, and we wanted to start to. We had a platform sort of in place, and we wanted to start to communicate related to this. And I saw a need. We need to involve people throughout our global organization. And in my role was really to drive this culture change. So it's not just drive transformation; it's this driving culture, and that's of course all aspects of how we operate the business. So I mean, I wanted to have a tool that could enable us to involve people, not just one-way communication, sort of. I wanted more transparency. I wanted to enable people wanted to empower people so they could really, contribute. We have actually very, high rating when it comes to engagement in our organization. So people, they like working here. They are super engaged with what we are doing. They feel they're contributing for something good. But how could we, in the best way, leverage this engagement and make sure that, it's not the top-down transformation, because it's the people that are working with things that know what is not working and what is working, and how can we make them involved and empower them to drive the change.
Then and I know you had many, of course, you have many other tools where you were able to reach to people in certain ways with email and your intranet or communication channels. But what was like? What
I felt that, as you said, I mean, we have Office 365, and you have all these apps. You have a lot of opportunities, but it's not so easy to get this sort of seamless interface. It does require a lot of management to use all these different apps. You don't get the transparency between them. You do one thing in one app and something else in another app. And I wanted to have all of this, and on top of it, I wanted also, of course, to have a good interface that I could use for reaching people, and great accessibility to material, for example, and as I said, I mean, the transparency of communication and so on. So when I was looking for something, I didn't know what I wanted to have. And actually then I stumbled over Howspace, and I found it really interesting. And we decided to do a pilot based on the conversations that we had. And we have been working with you since then.
Yeah, here we are now.
Here we are now.
Yeah, we are so happy that you found us, Sara.
I am too, I have to say.
You will share more about what you are actually doing with Howspace a bit later, but I think it would be nice now to have a look on the pre-work where our participants have shared their challenges. And yes, if you would like to show my screen, or do I need to do that? Sorry. There we go. Now I think we can show my screen. So I am now at the welcome page here, and thank you everyone for the active engagement we had here. I would love us to look at this question, and now you are viewing Howspace from the an admin view. So I have these 3 dots here where I can actually prompt a question. There's a lot of good insights here, but I would like AI to help me to summarize this conversation. So what are the biggest challenges? List 3 things. And we ask AI. See what we get. All right. Lack of time and resources, which hinders the implementation of change and affects motivation. Internal politics and power struggles that obstruct the flow of ideas and creativity. Frequent changes that are not fully implemented before new ones are introduced, leading to resistance and reluctance to engage. Sara, is this something you recognize yourself?
Yeah, I think these are probably things that all people working with transformation and change management will encounter in one way or another, more or less. Of course, these are the challenges, and I mean it's clear that the audience know what they're talking about there.
Yeah,
from the point of view. Yeah.
I will create a comment of this and post so that everyone also have it there on the platform. And I just also quickly would like to say that if you want to use the translation feature, any one of you can on the platform click on your profile and to translation here, and then you can have all the written text in your local languages. It's now in English, but you can have it in German or French or Finnish or whatever you want to there. Good. Yes, let's continue talking about those things. But Sara, you touched upon it a bit earlier. Jesse, you can take away the screen share now. Many participants who are here are familiar with Howspace, and some may have never heard of Howspace before. But can you describe a bit more on what is it that Hitachi Energy do with Howspace today?
Yeah, should we maybe show the one slide I had with me? Just for, I mean, I would have loved to be able to show you our workspace, but it's for internal purposes, and I'm not able to share it, unfortunately. So the slide that Melody will share is just a little bit to give some kind of box in the different activities that we are doing, so you can sort of follow me when I talk about it. But I cannot see it here right now. I don't know if it will pop up. But what we did first when we started to do the pilot with Howspace was that we had then developed both a sort of a cultural platform, but also our 5-year strategy that we were launching at that time. And we wanted to basically pressure test the strategy and do the sort of fine polishing of it. And we wanted to involve our leadership in that process. So what we did then was we were invited to a leadership seminar, and in advance of that, we opened up via Howspace, that all the leaders invited had the possibility to read through the material. They had a possibility to comment and ask questions on the material in advance. And that enabled us also, of course, to already immediately actually do some adjustment, but also to plan for the seminar in a good way, because it gave us insights of where our leaders were in relation to the different topics that we raised, what questions that we needed to focus more specifically on. And sort of what is the talk in the organization, sort of. So it helped us in planning and understanding the organization, I think, better. And then during the seminar, we actually continued this kind of work, but then we let people, they met face to face, they sat in groups, but we used then Howspace as a tool for compiling all the input. And then when we met in a sort of bigger forum, we could show everyone, this is the input that we have gotten. These are the conclusions that you have made, and we can discuss them there directly in the forum. And that enabled us to, I think, give everyone a very similar picture of where we were, what we needed to do, what challenges that we had. So when people left the room, they had really taken a great step in the direction that we wanted, and we had a more unified view of the situation within the management. And we're talking about 100 leaders at this instance. And then afterwards, of course, we did some adjustment in the material based on feedback and input that we had. And then we could again share this and enable the leaders to read through it and start to prepare for the broader rollout to all employees. And I mean, they could continue to ask questions and have dialogues on the platform also after the seminar. And then the next step that we did was we basically did the same journey with all employees. So we built this workspace for all employees. And in this instance, we also expanded it to include several different strategic initiatives that were ongoing. And we opened up for employees to read through material, to ask questions, to interact. And we used it again as basically, where we had the Q&A during our face-to-face sessions later on. And that later became, after this event, that has actually developed to be our strategy platform, which is now seamlessly integrated via our inside web. So that's where people go, and that's also what we use for onboarding new employees and so on. They are directed there so they can, really get the basis and understand the strategy that we are working on. We are also now trying to use it more on, because I mean, I'm working for the entire organization, so that is a certain kind of more sort of broader mass communication, even though this enables us to really go into specific questions that employees are asking, and then we can direct them to the right people, and you can open up and get the transparency in the communication. So if someone is asking it, you can be sure that others have the same questions, and that, of course, enables you to, you can sort of close that question. And sometimes it's other, I mean, it's not just managers talking and asking or responding to questions. It's also other employees, of course, that have knowledge and can quickly, clarify something. And I think that has, and this is very difficult to measure, but our perception is that it has reduce the sort of a negative buzz related to changes, because you can get clarity really quickly, and things that rumors that move around that quickly can become sort of the truth. We can close it. We can clarify, and if you get then a direct response from someone who is responsible for something, saying, "No, this is the case," then people accept that, and then you get the transparency. And I think that also builds trust, which has been a key element for us all. Also, we want people to, of course, believe and trust in what we are doing. We are also now piloting this for a specific function, so it becomes a little bit more focused on certain elements in the strategy, and our hope is that that will enable even more co-creation, not just sharing, giving ideas and comments and so on, but really that you can actually start to more create things together. So that is one of the things that we are now piloting, have been doing for about a year, trying out some different ways of doing that. And we have also worked with it for some smaller workshop activities. And I think there specifically it has been really good when you have a lot of data and information and input from many people, and it could be quite complex things, where the AI has been actually really efficient in compiling that input and give this sort of joint view of what are actually the key elements. And you get that quickly, you can discuss it and say, okay, now actually these are different in priorities. And then you can leave the meeting and have the same view, because there's, I mean, otherwise it's a big risk that you go with your own perception of the discussions, and that can differ quite a lot. And if you compare the things that we have done, I mean, just a leadership seminar, if we would have done something like that in the old days with post-its or big papers on the wall and so on, we would have needed to have several sessions. You wouldn't have gotten the same transparency. You wouldn't have gotten people been able to interact in the same way throughout this journey. Would have been limited to certain events and so on. So I think for us, it has really been speeding up the process, saving time also. A lot of time, I think.
Yeah, and you have done that really nicely with using the platform in this during, before, during, after, and between sessions. And I think that is definitely way to go, to not like also overwhelming people with too much at the same time, so you can actually spread it out over time.
And I mean, we can see that people are, I mean, you have sort of this subscription, you can say, or I mean, you get the notice when there are coming new comments in, and we can see that we have a lot of people sort of following the comments. So when there is something new, they go in and read it. So there is an interest of following this. And it's there. So when you need information, you can go there, you can ask your questions within this specific, for example, initiatives that we have launched towards the employees. When you encounter something in relation to those and you don't know maybe who to talk to, or you can go directly there, and then you will meet the person who is responsible for the initiative, who is driving it, and ask the question, and then that is done. And then I think, I mean, another aspect which is overall when it comes to these digital tools is, if you meet face to face, it's the loud people that you hear, But there is a lot of good ideas among people who maybe are not equally comfortable being in the center of attention. And if with this kind of digital tool, you make it more equal. You can allow everyone on equal terms to give their input. Those people who need some time to reflect, and then they want to come back before, after they have decided exactly what they want to say, they get the opportunity. And there can come really, really good ideas out of that.
Yeah, dialogue is definitely an essential part of your usage here, and you are basically inviting 4,500 people to the dialogue. Have it also been challenging, or is there risks doing this?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I mean, the aspect is this is a change way of working. It's of course we have been striving to have dialogue prior to these activities, but this is a new way of working in many ways, and that means that you need to prepare most employees so they understand what this is about. But I think many people today are used to social media, so it's quite easy to get into. But you also need to work with your leadership, because they really need to drive this behavior and live this dialogue. And and they need to be on board on this. And I think that is something to be aware of.
Yeah.
It's a change of behavior in itself. But what we have seen is that, in the beginning, maybe it was a little bit scary and a little bit difficult to do this, and really open up. But it's been so rewarding. The feedback and input that we have gotten have been so valuable. So I think today no one is, questioning the value of having these dialogues. And then, of course, you need to have someone who is managing this tool, who helps. You cannot expect, your entire senior management team to continuously follow the dialogue here because they are super busy. So you need maybe someone that can help to facilitate and signal and say, okay, now you have a question here, you need to go and answer that and to help to support a little bit like that. But I think that has been really, really good, but it is a little bit of a journey that you need to be aware of. Then, I mean,
we have actually gotten a question there from Dirk Simanki. He asks, how do you drive the administration of such a wide activity? Like how many users or responsible facilitators do you have to maintain such an initiative?
Yeah, we are not many. We're like, I think we're like 3 people who works with this, and I'm the main lead in doing this. As I said, I mean, I have a background in communication, so for me it was a home turf to put this kind of stuff together. But I have another communication specialist that supports me, and then I have actually an executive assistant that works also with this. So we're not a big team. I think it would be valuable to have a bigger team, but I think what you need to, and that is the risk or challenge, but I mean, it's something to be aware of. The tool itself will not solve any problems. It's a tool, and it's a great tool that can support you, but you need to have the facilitation skills. You need to know what you want to achieve. You need to understand where you are. You need to have a method for doing this. You need to formulate the questions. You need to decide what process and method, whatever you want to do, as any kind of workshop. And of course, if you are then working with a large group that are adding different dimensions to it, but you need to have all of that in place, meaning that you need a certain competence to drive the tool. And I have not today been sort of actually wanting to throw this out to everyone to use, because if it's not used in the right way, I think it could actually fall back on us in a negative way, because you need to maybe be able to manage this. And that is something that if you have not worked in Howspace and you're looking into using it, is something that you should have in consideration when you decide that that you have a group that is dedicated for this and that will own the tool and manage it going forward.
We have another practical question from Pia Salonen. Out of your 4,000 colleagues, how many have been participated in Howspace discussions? Do you know?
I
know that varies over time.
research data. Actually, I think it was about 30% or something like that. But we know, of course, we have a greater view statistics. So it's a lot more people that are reading than that are contributing. But yeah. This is as any social media, you need to launch this. You need to get people on board. What we are doing now is that every time we have an all-employee meeting, we are using this as the dialogue platform. This is where the dialogue is, and we are referring to this, portal in every communication that we are doing, because we want to drive people there. And as I said, we are onboarding a lot of new people. We recruited about 1,000 people last year and the same this year, and all of those people have that as part of their onboarding plan to go through this material. So that's how we are driving it from a sort of continuous perspective. So this is not the one-off. We really work with the platform continuously.
I have one more question related to your like use cases here. You said that it's also a question from Dirk. After the launch you had with the 100 managers, you mentioned, is there any feedback loop to the top management from the workshops with all the employees to the top management, and what has been the experience of that?
For sure. I mean, we haven't asked for feedback on the tool, but we have asked for. What I have done is, when we have had our major sessions with all employees, of course, based on all the input that we get and the questions we get, I have compiled, what are the most critical things what are the most critical comments that maybe we need to take an action on, for example, but also other aspects or comments that we think are important. So, I do the analysis of the material afterwards, and I present that to the management team, and then that is the basis, of course, for a lot of other kind of communication that we are doing when we have. We have regular all employees meeting. When we did this first time, that was sort of the strategy launch. But then we have quarterly all employee meetings. We have monthly manager meetings and so on. And this, of course, gives input to what are the topics that we see that we need to address in the organization at this point.
Yeah.
So that is, and then. We are doing a big transformation. We have a transformation board, and that is our management team, and we have regular meetings with them where we follow up our strategy initiatives and so on. And the one that I'm driving, which is called Culture for Scale, which includes all the engagement and so on, that is one of them. So we have a constant dialogue from that aspect, as we see that as crucial for all the other initiatives that we are doing.
Yeah, thank you, Sara. I think we need to move on to the next part, where I again would like to activate our participants. So let me again share. No, actually, we can just release the questions on the page. Now we have them available there. So there is basically now 2 questions available on the workspace under the stream. And it's a poll where I, first of all, want people to pick the option that best describes how you would describe your organization's current ability to engage and involve employees in certain or different initiatives, change initiatives. And then there is also a chat there where I want people to share what it would mean for you and your organization if you become better at, or if you improved this, if you become better at involving and engaging people. It could be 2% better or 20% better or even more. What would it mean for your organization? So we will give you a minute to answer those things. And we can then also see the word cloud coming up there as the comments comes in. I can also now start to share my screen, and we'll see what we have there. I can also now start to share my screen, and we'll comments are coming in. I give you a bit more time. 30 new comments. Thank you, everyone. Trust, drive, business, strategic, transformation. is keywords in the conversation. More change, drive change. All right, you can continue writing there. First, I would like to show the results of this one. How would people then describe your organization's current ability? We see that more than 50% say good in some cases. I can relate. And okay, but could have been better. Non-existing or excellent. But many people are here at good at some cases and could have been better. And what would it then mean for people if you become better at this? So I will then again use the prompting and see what would it mean if organizations become better. Become better. List top 5 things. We will see what AI is saying. Quicker and more cost-effective transformation, accelerated strategic initiatives and faster time to market, increased employee engagement, motivation and trust, better quality service delivered to customer and improved cooperation, enhanced transparency and inclusion in organizational changes. And what I can do now with these insights that we have received from all the participants is actually that I can create a poll or a pulse or priority. And I think I will go for the pulse widget here. And then also ask a question. I have actually prepared one thing here. Which would you prioritize as the most critical action in the next stage of your transformation journey? So out of these responses here, I then can post that people can vote for, like, what is most critical to and having consideration with the next steps in the planning of the transformation. Sara, what would you say out of those 5 options? What would you say is most critical?
I like them all. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's the acceleration of strategic initiatives and time to market. That that is our key target at the moment. Of course, not at the cost of putting people at the core of our business, but I mean that's the long-term target that we are striving for. So.
Yeah. So by having insights from conversation like this, it can actually then affect or improve what you would like to do in the next steps of each session. I can stop the screen sharing now. This was just an example of how you can make sense of an ongoing conversation on Howspace. And digital tools and the use of AI is they often aim to improve efficiency and also save time. Sara, in what way has Howspace supported your organization and with this functionality and also maybe you as a facilitator in those processes? How have AI and
Yeah, I mean, I think I highlighted it a little bit before that I think we could, maybe if you have had a series of workshops to reach a certain conclusion, you can now do it much more compressed and maybe do all of it actually in one session with a little bit of pre-work. So that makes the process faster, and it's also more transparent. So that, of course, saves a lot of time for critical people in many cases. As a facilitator, I mean, it enables me to. We talked about reaching 4,500 people. You don't want to spam your entire organization sending out multiple mails, for example. You want to send one mail, and those then that are, for example, doing what they should do, they should not get the reminder mail. So you can follow what people have done and what people have not done. And especially when we had this a lot of interaction, and when we really sent out this sort of pre-work that has been basically mandatory, which has been often to leaders when we've done several other seminars with leaders, also in bigger groups after this first pilot that I talked about. And I mean, that means I can follow exactly who has done what. I can send reminders to those who haven't finished what they should have done, and say, let's go now. It's time. We like your input, and we know it's valuable. And those that have done what they should, they can get some recognition for that. But instead of spamming people with multiple mails, which is always stressful and irritating for people to get it, especially when you've done your stuff, you don't need to do that. And then in the planning, I mean, you can plan everything in advance. You can write the mails in advance, and you can decide when they should be sent out. You do the planning in the system in advance and decide who should see what and when throughout the process. And I think that reduces the stress a little bit, or significantly, actually, for the people who are facilitating an activity, that you can prepare everything in advance. And you basically just click your way through during the event.
Yeah, we have actually gotten a question in the pre-work from Tianjin, who asked, like, how to coordinate between different initiatives of change without overwhelming people in the daily work. And
yeah, I think that question has many different aspects or depths, sort of. One thing is that I think that is also a matter of how do you plan your different initiatives? How do you govern the different initiatives? And that is more from a leadership point of view. You need to look into how these different initiatives work together, for example. And I said before that we have a transformation board where we have all the initiatives, all the content of all the initiatives, and we follow them up regularly, and we can see then where do we see potential conflicts of interest? Where do we see conflict when it comes to resources? What do we need to prioritize in this stage? And then we have an overview, and we can guide and support the different initiatives. They don't need to basically compete with each other. From a communication perspective, I think it's important to set up a communication structure, and that's actually what we have used, for example, Howspace to do. So instead of leaving it to each initiative to manage their communication and to some extent compete with each other about the space available, we have this structure. This is, the platform that we're using. These are the different places that and the forums that you can use for communicating your things. And as we have this overall governance, we can also help the different initiatives, because not all of them have communication support or the experience of working with communication, and maybe not all of them with transformation. They are specialists in certain topics that they are working to develop, and they need the support. So we can then help them and guide. So I think it does need a little bit of governance and central coordination to avoid overwhelming both the collaborators but also the entire organization, because it can be a lot of buzz. I mean, we get a lot of information every day in the world we live in. Yeah.
I know that you have also received a lot a lot of insights from this dialogues that you had on the workspace, and that these insights have also given something to the leaders. And we have also gotten a question from Robert about how do you manage to get operational leaders active in these digital forums, and maybe also use the insights and the conversations that is ongoing on the platform.
I mean, everyone is, they're individual, and they have a different inclination to be active in social media or in this kind of forums. And I mean, you need to sort of respect that. As I said, we have a little group of people who are following this, and we are supporting our leaders, and we are encourage them. I think I haven't seen that as an issue actually today. I think most leaders have been keen to respond to questions related to what they are doing. They are engaged in what they are doing, and they want to ensure that it's the right information that comes out. And if someone has a question, they sort of, they're happy to answer it. But I think you need a little bit of governance, and that is manageable in the size of organization that we have. I mean, I don't know if you would apply it in the same way if you had, an organization of 150,000. Then maybe you need to think in a little bit different way. But the way we are working, and we have a little bit more than 200 managers, and then we have, other people who are leaders. But that is doable to handle and support them in driving. But overall, I think it's been very positive, and they appreciate the feedback. And I mean, it's not just the highest management team that gets, valuable insights. Everyone reading through, get this insights, saying, okay, these are the questions that are actually being answered, maybe we need to address this. So there seem to be unclarities here, and so on. So I think it's been seen as very, very valuable. And I mean, we've been using the tool for having dialogue with the same group. So they have also, starting to get used to the tool as such, and can see the benefits of it from their perspective, having been more using it in different contexts.
What was their reaction when you launched Howspace in the first place?
I mean, now I'm not paid by Howspace in any way, but no, it was actually a great success when we did the pilot. It was we did launch a very, I'm not too sure if the right wording, but aggressive strategy. It was we put really high targets on all of us and driving transformation and change, and we launched that in this context. And we were prepared that this could be very, very tough. But I think that the opportunity to have this dialogue and really be the transparency that we offered, that was really, really appreciated, and it went really, really well. And I think one of the reasons were that we had this tool to work with. It enabled something that we have not had before in the same way. It's, when you have someone doing a presentation, and then there's people sit in groups and work, and then you try to compile some input, and I mean, you don't get the bigger picture. So for us, it has had a great contribution.
Thank you, Sara, for sharing this. I'm so happy to hear this. And we have so many more questions on the workspace, but we don't have time to respond to all of them here. And but we can continue afterwards on the platform with the conversation, and we encourage also people to engage in each other's comments there. So we really get the dialogue active on the platform, and me and Sara will be active asynchronously on the platform also after this. But I have one more question for you, Sara, before we wrap this up. And it's about like you are in the middle of this change journey now, but what are you looking forward in the upcoming year, or like what is your next steps in your transformation journey now?
I mean, as I said, we have this 5-year strategy, and of course, we are already now starting to look at the sort of next 5 year in parallel. But I mean, our change will continue, and I think where we are right now, we have a great strategy platform, we have a culture platform, we have a very clear, picture and idea where we want to go. I think we have reached quite a lot of engagement and understanding that this is the journey that we need to do. Then, of course, when you do a lot of changes, there are always elements of where you don't know how to do it. You need to develop competence and skills that you haven't had, and you need to find new ways that you haven't found yet. You need to try new things out and so on. And I think now for us, of course, it will be, we need to reinforce the communication to show the consistency. This is where we're going. We need to work, of course, with competence development, supporting people through this journey. And I think the continuous dialogue is essential, because things are changing, and we need to follow and understand where we are in our transformation and change, and where people are, so we can do the right things. So I think that what we will do going forward is probably more of these sort of smaller workshops. And I see is we have been working on a sort of corporate communication level a little bit, and then pushing down things, even though we have invited for dialogue. And I think now it's really to help facilitate activities throughout our global organization, getting input from different parts of our organization continuously, so we can really, get the intelligence and understanding in different topics. So that's probably what I see going forward. Find good methods for doing workshops targeted within different geographics on different topics and so on, and be able to compile that and get deeper understanding than, for example, what you get when you do an employee engagement survey and so on that we do annually. But
Wow, we are looking forward to support you in all that work, Sara. And super thank you, Sara, for sharing this with me and everyone who listened to us today. We only have like 2 more minutes of this hour together, and we will now on the workspace release a new chat where you can reflect on what you have heard here today and continue the conversation. It is possible there also to say that you are interested to learn more and take a part of our global transformation research report that we launched this year. It's super interesting readings and findings also there if you would like to continue on this topic today. But with that said, thank you, everyone. We continue the conversation on the platform, and thanks again, Sara. I wish
Thank you so much for having me, and I haven't been able to follow now during the session the questions, but I will try to go in and respond if there are any direct questions to me.
Yes, we have them there. We can continue. All right. Thank you all again, and I wish you all a good rest of your day now.